Welcome to SDG classes, and today's topic is passing parameter. In this particular topic, we have four subtopics: required or positional argument, default argument, keyword argument, and variable length argument. In today's video, we will try to complete the first topic, that is required or positional argument. So let's start with the topic. Before starting the topic, let's try to understand what is this term parameter and argument means. So in my previous video, I have discussed about function call. Yes, it's true that I haven't made any video regarding the function calls, but yes, I have discussed a little bit of about what function call is, how to call a function from main. So, and it is actually related to that parameters and argument. Yes, it's true that we synonymously use these two terms, but there is a slight difference, a very basic difference, which a class 12 student should understand. So let's try to understand what this parameter and argument is. So let me first define a function. Means I will not going to define this whole thing, just the function header and body, just leaving that particular body. So let's start with the function called def sum, and suppose we have two parameters a and b, and yes, today we will discuss this particular thing only. So this video is only dedicated for this parameter. So yes, here we have here I have described two parameters, and yes, suppose it is the body of the function. So this is my function. Suppose def sum a comma b. Now I need to call this function. Okay, I need to call this function from main. So how to call a function? Just write the name of the function. Just write the name of the function, and the values need to be passed. Why? Because we have defined two parameters. So suppose 2, 5, and I'm assuming the function to be a void function. So it is not returning anything. So that's why I'm not giving any variable to accept some values from that particular functions. Okay. Now just try to understand. This particular thing is the function call from main. Okay. So this one is the function call. Now, the values which have been defined in the function header, which values? This a and b. These are what? These are the parameters. These are actually the parameters. Parameters of the function a comma b. Then what are these 2, 5? These are actually the argument. So if someone asks you what is parameter or argument, argument is something which we used to pass during the function call. Arguments are something, are values which we used to pass during the function call. So the values that is being passed during the function call are arguments, and the values which is being received from the function call are parameters. So parameters are which are being defined on the function header, and arguments are something which is being defined during the function call. Now there is two terms which is being used in case of argument, and that is, in case of argument we use the term actual parameters. Okay, and for this part we use the term formal parameters, and the definition remains the same only. Okay, parameters, and the definition remains the same only. And yes, this particular question used to come in exam, that what is the difference between formal parameter and actual parameter. Give an example. So what you need to do is to simply tell actual parameters are the parameters that is being passed during the function call. So the values that is being passed during the function call to the function are actual parameters. And what is formal parameters? The values that is being received from the function call, or the values that is being defined, or the variables that is being defined in the function header are formal parameters. So formal parameters are the parameters who received values from the actual parameters. So they are being defined in the function header. And yes, give a function, create a function, and use call that particular function from main, and that's the example. So yes, We have got one answer, how to differentiate between formal parameters and actual parameters. So arguments are also called as actual parameters. Parameters are also called as formal parameters. And that's the difference, nothing else. Very simple, clear? So now we have understood what parameters are, what arguments are, what is actual parameters, what is formal parameters, and this is a very important topic, or you can say a very important question which used to come in boards. So guys, if this particular comes, please try to give example for this. Why? Because example also carries some marks, half or one. So it's very important to give example for theory types of question. So now we have understood what parameters and what arguments are. Now let's understand the main topic, that is required or positional argument. But yes, this is also a very much important topic. Why? Because while defining or while describing that particular topic, required or positional argument, I will be using this term arguments or parameters. So let's move to the topic. Required or positional argument. So what is this required or positional argument is? By the term required, what is coming into your mind? It's something like you need to pass. Okay, required is something like you need to pass. You cannot ignore or you cannot skip. So that's what required is. And positional is something like with respect to the position. Means suppose you are giving some values. So if this, so first value will go to first parameter, second value will go to second parameter. So position wise, and that's what position is. I know you didn't get the point. If I will give the example or explain you, then definitely will understand it. But yes, just before starting or before giving the example, it's better to give you a theoretical knowledge, why, in order to create a visualization of it. Yes, and it's also true, after the completion of this topic, we will move to our practical classes in order to make you understand the concept in a much more better way. I mean, I want you to clear your concept 110%, and that's my motive is. And yes, guys, if you face any doubt, feel free to ask me. The comment section is only for you, guys. So if you have any doubt, feel free to ask me. So now let me define that particular function only. Def sum a comma b. So now again a comma b, and suppose let me give the body print a plus b. So this is the body. Now let me call this function. So this is a void function, and yes, I've discussed this why it's a void function. And if you haven't seen that particular video, please, it's my request to you, access my playlist and have a look to that particular video. Why? Because each and every video is connected, so you cannot skip. Means if you are looking to this particular video for the first time and haven't a knowledge, doesn't have any knowledge of the previous videos, then definitely you will face problems. So it's my request to start from the beginning only. So let's start. So this is the function. This is the function definition. Now I need to call this particular function. So how to call a function? Just write the name of the function and pass the parameters. So suppose the parameters are 5 and 6. So this one is the function call. Okay. So this one is the function call. Now try to understand what is this term required is trying to say us, or trying to explain us, or trying to mean us. So required is something like you see how many parameters you have defined. How many parameters you have defined? You have defined 2 parameters. So you need to pass the values for these 2 parameters. You cannot skip any of the argument. So means the arguments, how many parameters are there? 2. So you need to pass 2 arguments. You cannot skip any of the parameters. Okay. So means you may think that I can skip this parameter b. No, you can't. Okay. But say yes, it can be true if you are using default parameter or default argument, and that we will discuss in our next upcoming video. But yes, as of now, for the required or the positional argument, where there is no default value is being given, then in that particular case, you need to pass the values for all the parameters. So see how many parameters are there? There are 2 parameters. So you need to, that is the required one. That is the required condition. You need to pass the values for all the parameters. So you need to pass all the arguments. How many arguments? That is equals to the number of parameters which is being defined on the function header. I hope this one is clear. So suppose if there are 4 parameters, A, B, C, D. And if this one is the function call, then definitely it will give you an error. Why? Because for C and for D parameters, no values is being passed. So definitely it will raise you an error. Okay. So you need to pass the values for the parameters C and D. Now suppose I have passed values for parameter C, not for D. Then again it will give you an error. Okay, fine. So let me pass values for parameter D only. 8. Now this will not generate you an error. Why? Because the number of arguments you have passed is equal to the number of parameters which is being defined on the function header. So you need to pass exact number of arguments. Exact number of arguments. Exact number of argument means the number of parameters which is being defined. That number of parameters and the number of arguments need to be same. So for this I am using the term argument. Why? Because I just explained that while during the function call, the values which is being passed during the function call are being called as arguments, and the values that is being received are called as parameters. So or that you can see the variables which are being defined on the function header are parameters. So the point is, if I pass another parameter, another argument, suppose 10. Now again this will generate you an error. Why? Because since there are 4 parameters, and yes, you have passed 4 parameters, means 4 parameters are getting their respective value. Then this particular argument, it is for whom? It is for which parameter? So this will obviously generate you an error, because you have defined 4 parameters, so you need to pass 4 arguments during the function call. You cannot pass more, or you cannot pass less than of it. So you need to pass the exact number of arguments which is equal to the number of the parameters. Clear? I hope this one is definitely clear to you, and that's what required is. So you need to pass every values for the parameters. Now what is this position is? So the position tries to mean us, the term position try to mean us that the values of the argument matches the values of the parameters position wise or order wise. What does it mean? It means that this argument value will move to the parameter value A. This argument value 6 will move to the parameter value B. This argument 7, value 7 will move to parameter C, and this argument 8, value 8 will move to parameter D. And that's what position is. So with respect to the position of the argument, it will move to the respective position of the parameters. Clear? Simple. Now suppose if I change, the order, so 5, 6, 7, 8. So A is now having 5, B is now having 6, C is now having 7, D is now having 8. Okay. Now if I change the order, so 8, 7, 6, 5, comma, comma, comma. Okay. Now what will happen? Now A is now containing value 8, B is now containing value 7, C is now containing value 6, and D is now containing value 5. So with respect to the position of the argument, the parameters are getting their respective values, and that is what positional term try to mean us. And that is, I hope you have get the concept what is this required or positional argument is. And yes, the topic is completed. Very simple. Now in today's practical class, I will create a void function, and yes, I will try to define the same sum of numbers, 4 sum of numbers or 5 sum of numbers. But yes, I will be using the parameters and the required one. And yes, I will also show you how the values of A or B get changed with the change in the order of this argument, that I will show you. And at the same time, if I pass number of arguments less than the number of parameters or more than the number of parameters, then definitely I will get an error. All these things will be shown you in the practical class. So let's move to it. So let's start the practical class. So I have opened my ideally interactive mode. Now let me open the script. So file and new file. So a window gets open. This is the script file, script mode. So here I will be writing the code. So yes, let's write the very basic code. Summation of the numbers. Summation of, let's do it for 3 numbers. So let me define the function def sum of three numbers, and let's define three parameters: num1, num2, num3. Clear? Colon, and let's print the sum. Sum is comma num1 plus num2 plus num3. Okay, done. So it's a void function. So I have created the function. Now it's time to call the function. So here num1, num2 and num3 are what? They are parameters. So they are parameters. Okay, now let's call the function. So how to call the function? Simply write the name of the function and pass the arguments. Why we need to pass the arguments here? In previous lectures or in previous videos, we have seen that we haven't passed any values while calling the function, but now in this case we are passing the values. Why? Because we have defined parameters. We have defined parameters for the function sum of three number. So that's why we also need to pass the arguments to these parameters. So how many arguments we need to pass? We need to pass three arguments. So let me pass 4, 5 and 6, and we know the sum is 15. Yeah, it's 15. Okay, so sum is 15, but the point is it's a correct program. Okay, it's a correct program, so it will definitely give you a result, a correct output. So let me write the name of the file as required parameters. Done. Save it and run it. So the sum is 15. Clear? So it's not giving me any error. Now suppose if I pass arguments more than the number of parameters. So if I pass arguments, suppose if I passing 4 arguments, but yes, I have defined 3 parameters, then definitely you will be getting an error. So Control S, function F5. So yes, type error. So takes 3 positional argument, but 4 were given. See, takes 3 positional arguments. So here we have 3 parameters defined, but we are passing 4 arguments. So that's why we are getting an error. And the name of the error is type error. Okay guys, mind it, it's type error. Now let me pass arguments less than the number of parameters. So I am passing 2 arguments. So this one is function call, guys. Okay, this one is function call. And yes, in function call we used to pass arguments. Okay, now arguments. So here I am passing 2 arguments, but yes, I have defined 3 parameters. So again mismatch. So obviously we will be getting an error. So let me show it. Yes, again missing one required argument. So one required argument is being missed, and yes, and that is for num3. Yes, we can see it's for num3. So for num1 and num2, the values is being passed. For parameter num1 and num2, the values is being passed, but for num3 no values is being passed, so we are getting an error. So I hope you got my point, what this required argument is. So you need to pass the exact number of arguments to the number of parameters which is being defined. So if number of parameters is 4 or 5, so if it's 5, so you need to pass 5 arguments during the function call. So you cannot pass less than or more than the number of arguments. And that's all for today's class. I hope you have understood what required argument is. It's a very simple topic, and yes, the other topics are also simple. It's not at all a tough one. The important thing is we need to have a clear concept, and we need to have a practical sound of it. So it's my request that I am showing you simple programs, but it's a request to you, please try to practice a lot and lots of different types of questions from your book. And yes, if you face any doubt, feel free to ask me in the comment section. Again telling you, comment section is for you. So if you have any doubt, please send me your doubts in comment section. I will definitely clear all those doubts. So let's meet in next video. That's all for today. Thank you very much.